Welcome to the Financial Technology Report, a leading information source on financial technology companies and solutions. In this episode, we speak with Daumantas Dvilinskas, co-founder and CEO of TransferGo, a digital money transfer platform founded in 2012 to address the practical barriers migrants face when sending money across borders. The company now supports more than 8 million customers in over 160 countries, offering faster, lower-cost transfers built for people managing financial responsibilities across geographies. Daumantas has led TransferGo since its early days, overseeing its growth from a small founding team into an international operation built around licensing, banking partnerships, product development, and customer support. I am your host, RJ Lumba. We hope you enjoy the show. If you like the episode, click to follow. Daumantas, great to see you. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I thought where we could kick off is the genesis of the idea to start TransferGo, because it looks like you started it fairly early on after graduating, maybe a couple of years out of college. How did you come up with the idea?
Frustration with traditional banking when it comes to cross-border payments. I think this frustration back in 2010 was shared by many, both on a macro side, but also on a product side. Banks were just not equipped to deal with cross-border payments. And we had a business with international supply chain, and it was just a nightmare. So we effectively found a way for our own business to move money slightly differently. And then we saw that we can actually use this to solve a problem for millions out there, not just us.
Because I think the other tools people are using now is like a PayPal or, something similar. Maybe there's like another bank option that they could use, but it is cumbersome and it is costly. I think the first thing people ask is like, how much does this cost to send? Are you able to kind of help reduce that cost?
Yeah, so the fundamental idea is that we are not sending individual transactions cross-border. So we bypass traditional systems altogether. And that's the main reason why transactions are up to 90% cheaper than SWIFT transactions or traditional banking transactions. And they're also instant 24/7. And our model is local in, local out. So we receive the money locally, wherever you live. And when we pay out money locally, wherever your recipient lives. So individual transactions do not move cross-border, and that really bypasses the systems and bypasses the cost.
And so are you aggregating transfers? How does it actually get done in an efficient way?
To do that, we had to build our own clearinghouse. And that's a fancy word for having hundreds and thousands of accounts everywhere in the world and managing a sophisticated pool of liquidity everywhere where we work to make sure. But from a customer standpoint, it's you come in, you book a transfer, you pay instantly, and within seconds, you get the point that your receiver got the money. That's as simple as it is. But in order to deliver that, there's quite a bit of a back-end operation that needs to take place.
Right. And are most of the folks on your platform, are they transferring money to family members overseas, across borders, or is this like paying for work that's being performed remotely?
Our core proposition is cross-border. Cross-border for economic migrants, cross-border for diaspora, cross-border for expats, cross-border for businesses. Everything that touches a conversion, everything that goes cross-border, that's where we focus on. And we are connecting pretty much Europe and the UK with the rest of the world with instant connectivity.
Can you give us a sense for maybe how you've been able to grow the business? Obviously, there's a huge need. There's so much in this area of remittances. I'd spoken to the founder of Remitly a long time ago when he was getting his business started, and that's grown tremendously. And I think he started perhaps in the Philippines, or that was one of the areas he focused on. Obviously, he's from the West Coast of the US, but have you seen similar type growth?
So we are doing similar to what those guys only were doing Europe sent. And the difference between Europe, UK, and the US, we are maybe 5 orders of magnitude more fragmented. So we have 25, 26 different countries, different regimes, different compliance regulation. So you multiply that by 150 received destinations, and you end up with 1,600 different delivery corridors. So this is 1,600. We started with one, which was UK to Lithuania very, very long time ago. We nailed that one, then another, then another. And so we had to become really good at international expansion because Europe has a lot of small markets with a lot of, so we had to be quite good at that. So that was sort of a markets were driving some of our strategy as well.
Could you give us a sense for the scale of the business currently?
Yeah. So we have now between 8 and 9 million registered customers on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
We move around 12 million transactions every year.
Mm-hmm.
And we're servicing, and seeing a moving quite small transaction, but fairly high frequency. So average customer makes more than 30 transactions per year with us. It's a high engagement play and quite frequent transactions as well.
How have you seen the growth year over year?
So over maybe 5-year horizon, we've seen maybe an average of 20-25%. We lived through turbulent times. We lived through, as everybody, through recessions, through COVID, through now Ukrainian war, and we have a large sending business to Ukraine. So macro has really impacted the business, sometimes accelerating like COVID. We've seen surges during COVID because cash was no longer available for people. Then we've seen a contraction during war because people have less money to send. But overall, the market is growing at 14% compounded growth rate, right? So if you're good, you can grow faster than that if you can deliver superior experiences. And that's roughly what we're seeing, a premium on that market growth for the last 5 years.
And when you look at the revenue pie, is there a large portion that's going from one geography to another? So like predominantly it's like UK to, pick a country.
Yeah, some depth is inevitable because we are a consumer brand. So our goal is to become the most trusted consumer brand per community, then go deep and then go to the next and the next. So there is some dependency. I think at this point, we've become a multi-regional player when it comes to transaction split. So we have largest markets are Eastern Europe, within Europe, Ukraine, Turkey, West Africa. I'll say these are the 4 markets. Now, within them, there are certain also dependencies, but roughly that's where we see growth. And Central Asia, most recently. And so we're trying to keep that balance between depth and horizontal expansion so we can serve multiple communities at the same time.
I imagine a lot of the marketing is word of mouth.
Yes. So I would say around 50% of our users are through either paid or unpaid word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, has been consistent across the years, because this is a very important part of one's financial transactions.
Right.
And people are searching for a brand they can trust. And trust is best scaled when it's someone else used it and can give a good reference. So that's 100%.
Do you work at all with the US? Can you make transfers from the US?
No. Up until now, no. For a while, it's been a conscious choice of ours, because I would say that, first of all, we understand Europe really well. So it's our markets. Secondly, the profit pool in Europe, what we see is much larger if you can navigate the fragmentation. And also, I think macro-wise, Europe, doesn't matter if it likes it or not, is becoming more like United States of Europe from a diversity perspective. And market by market, these customers are still largely underserved by traditional.
Right. Is there a simple example you could give us on like the cost savings? So for example, 100 pounds, you want to send it from UK to Ukraine. How much cheaper is it? What are the other advantages from using your service versus PayPal or another provider?
Yeah. So our service offers a variety of different pay-ins and payouts depending on what's your preference. So when I talk about pricing, I can talk about the averages, but I can also talk about the lowest cost point that we have, depending on how you want to use the service. For Ukraine, right now, you can send money back to Ukraine from Europe and UK for as low as 1.5%. Now, the averages for the market for the digital side are somewhere between 5 and 7%. Go for some of the Western Union or MoneyGram Cash, it's not very clear pricing, and it can go up to much more than that. So, that's as low. But then there is, depending on, if you want to pay in with a card or you want to pay in with open banking, then it varies depending on which option you would prefer.
How transparent is the pricing? Because I think where things get confusing is how much the exchange rate is influencing the actual end result, that the money actually going into the recipient's account.
Yeah. So for years, we've been looking into this question ourselves to find the right balancing act between transparency to the user and clarity to the user as well, because users are taught to think about pricing in certain ways. And sometimes it's difficult to change that behavior. So the way we are looking at pricing is through a guaranteed destination amount. With us, you can always reference us against anybody else. If you just go on our site, enter how much you want to send, the amount that you see there will be the amount that you'll get. There's no extra, no hidden fees. That's the amount. So that's how we solve this problem. Others are doing it by showing it in total fee, but ultimately what you want to know is how much money you'll get at the end of the day.
Right.
That's our approach to transparency.
Excellent. Investors, you've raised, I think, over $100 million. You've done, a variety of rounds. Can you tell us a little bit about your investors, maybe the more influential ones, and how they've helped your company aside from just financial capital?
Yeah. So our two anchor investors have been VEF, public Swedish fund, Hardjaka, American investor, a very good investor, long-standing investor, family office that became a fund. And then early stage, our first investor is Practica Capital, which is a Lithuanian-based investor. Without that investor, would not be here. So they probably helped us the most because they gave us a chance 12 years back. And they trusted that we can go out and compete against banks with a 150K check.
Right.
So that was a while back. And then VEF and then Hardjaka came in and sort of one thing led to another. All of our investors are either tech or financially focused. They're market focused pretty much because you have to be able to navigate emerging markets. You have to be able to understand the complexities of financial services because they're different to software as a service. They're different because you also have regulation. You have to have permission where you go. So navigating that reality is tricky, and you have to have investors who understand both that complexity and timeframes that are required to build something. At PayPal, PayPal is like 25 years in the making because it takes time with all the resources in the world, right? So I think timeframe and know-how have been critical.
Quick question. I think I saw Black River. Are they part of your investor base?
Yeah.
Is that the one in the States or is that a different one?
No, this is a small investor.
Okay. Got it. Let's switch over into you personally. I'm just curious. We like to get to know kind of the founder CEO a little bit better. Did you grow up always thinking you'd be an entrepreneur? Like, where are you from? And then did you find this kind of desire to become an entrepreneur kind of inherent in how you went about your education and career journey?
Yeah, well, I'm Lithuanian national, and I'm the first generation that is pretty much free from Soviets. So I grew up with very different expectations and very different livelihood, for example, to what my parents had. I was fortunate enough to have great parents, I still have them, who invested a lot in me early days. I was fortunate enough to go study in the UK, had a broad education, lived in the States for a while, Silicon Valley, early days. And I think when I was coming up, entrepreneurship and startups were not even part of the conversation. As I think back in 2000s. I mean, or your career is, you can be a consultant. That's the career, right?
Right.
Especially here in Eastern Europe, it was a very different world. Venture capital didn't exist. You had loan sharks that were tending to do venture investment, right? So I was at this point of change, really. And I think for me, I never thought I would do this, but academia inherently bored me a lot. I was good at it, but never great because I just didn't care that much. And I always had other things to do. And, we're starting doing small businesses very early, various side things. And that was the point when boredom just went away. And it felt just natural to spend hours and hours and hours on something with low probability of success. But it felt like the time wasn't wasted. And that was, in hindsight, that was the signal that this is probably a good fit for the character. Now I'm 13 years into this company and this business, and it takes time. And sometimes it's good not to know how long things take. I don't have any regrets, and I would do the same thing all over again. So it's probably a good fit.
Excellent. Last two questions. Can you tell us about a person who has had a profound influence on you?
I think one of our earlier businesses that were even before this, we had a fortune of going through one of the first tech accelerators in Europe. At that point in time, it was called the Difference Engine. Now it's called Techstars. And the founder of that was this gentleman called John Bradford. And John Bradford, we were kids, we were 20, 22. And the fact that they accepted us into some of those programs and allow us time to fully focus on some of our crazy ideas back in the day I look back and I think that was pivotal for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the good fortune of a lot of people on my career who just helped me with not expecting nothing in return.
Mm-hmm.
And they just saw that we're doing our best probably and wanted to support both here and in the US and in Silicon Valley as well. Too many to mention, actually,
Mm-hmm.
but we were super fortunate to have those people.
Last question. Can you tell us about a charity, cause, or other endeavor that you're passionate about?
So as a company, we have a social mission, and we are recently become partners with Visa to support United 24 initiative, which is the biggest charity in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
0.5% of all transactions going to Visa cards will go to United 24, and they will be building bomb shelters for kids in Ukraine so they can go to school. So that is very close to our hearts. And I must think, because the war is still going, it hasn't stopped. I know that everybody would like to turn the page, but we can't, and it's still happening. So that's on the company side. Personally, I'm a big fan of education for kids, and especially tech education, and
Mm-hmm.
showing people that you can be a techie, but you can also build companies early. And there's nothing unique about entrepreneurs. It's the biggest lie that they're somehow special. They're maybe a bit braver,
Mm-hmm.
but that's it. There's nothing special. You just have to be brave and just never stop. That's a trait that is actually more important than intelligence sometimes. So I think sharing that with the kids as much as time as I have, it's also an important part of what we should do.
Wonderful. Daumantas, thank you again for taking the time. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.